The clinking of glasses, the murmur of polite conversation, a symphony of forks meeting porcelain plates. This was the usual rhythm of La Palazzo, a restaurant catering to those with refined tastes and even more refined wallets. Yet tonight this elegant flow was shattered. A young boy no older than 6 sat rigid in his chair, his face contorted in distress. His name was Asher, and the symphony of the restaurant had become an unbearable cacophony for his sensitive senses. The clinking was now a piercing clang, the murmur an aggressive shout. The world around him was closing in, suffocating him. Asher's parents, seated beside him, were frantic. They tried to soothe him, their voices tight with worry, but nothing seemed to penetrate the wall of sensory overload that had engulfed their son. The other diners watched with a mixture of curiosity and annoyance. Some whispered behind raised napkins, others sighed impatiently. The elegant facade of La Palazzo was crumbling, and at the centre of it all was a small boy lost in a world of overwhelming sensation. Nia Carter, a waitress at La Palazzo, observed the scene, her heart aching for the distressed child. She had seen this kind of sensory overload before, though not often in such a lavish setting. Life's hardships had taught her empathy, a quality she held close to her heart. Nia knew she had to do something, even if it meant stepping outside the strict boundaries of her job description. Nia cautiously approached the family's table, her movements gentle and unobtrusive. She had learned to navigate difficult situations with a quiet grace, a testament to the challenges life had thrown her way. Bending down to Asher's level, she spoke in a soft, calming voice, her tone a stark contrast to the surrounding chaos. "Hello, Asher," she said, her voice barely a whisper above the din. "My name is Nia. Can you tell me what's bothering you?" Asher, startled by the unexpected kindness in her voice, turned his tear-filled eyes towards Nia. For a moment, the world around him seemed to fade away, replaced by the image of this kind stranger who had reached out to him in his moment of need. He couldn't articulate his distress, couldn't find the words to explain the sensory overload that had him trapped in a prison of his own senses. Instead, he just shook his head, tears streaming down his face. Nia, sensing his inability to speak, gently placed a hand on Asher's arm. Her touch was firm yet reassuring, a silent message of comfort and understanding. She didn't force him to talk, knowing that sometimes the most powerful communication transcended words. Instead, she began to hum a soft melodic tune, her voice a soothing balm against the harshness of the restaurant noise. As Nia hummed, Asher slowly began to relax. His breathing, previously erratic and panicked, started to even out. The tension that had been gripping his small body gradually eased. Nia's gentle melody seemed to cut through the cacophony, creating a small island of peace in the midst of the storm raging inside him. For the first time since the sensory overload began, Asher felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, he could escape the overwhelming chaos that had engulfed him. The other diners, initially surprised by Nia's actions, watched the unfolding scene with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. The whispers died down, replaced by a respectful silence. Even in their world of privilege and sophistication, they recognized the power of genuine compassion, the simple act of one human being reaching out to another in need. Little did they know that this act of kindness, this small moment of human connection, would have far-reaching consequences, forever changing the lives of those involved. Nia's life had been a tapestry woven with threads of both joy and sorrow. The photograph tucked away in her worn purse, a snapshot of carefree laughter shared with her younger sister, Maya, was a poignant reminder of the life she had once dreamed of. A life filled with the vibrant colours of her artistic talents. A life where her passion for baking would one day fill a cosy cafe with the tantalising aroma of freshly baked bread and the comforting warmth of shared stories. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. The sudden loss of her parents in a tragic accident had ripped through the fabric of their lives, leaving Nia, barely an adult herself, as the sole guardian of her teenage sister. Dreams were hastily folded away, tucked into the corners of her heart as responsibility became the driving force of her days. The vibrant hues of her artistic aspirations faded into the muted tones of survival. The warmth of the bakery she had envisioned transformed into the sweltering heat of countless late-night shifts at La Palazzo. Each clinking glass, each echoing laugh of a carefree diner served as a stark reminder of the sacrifices she had made, the dreams she had placed on hold. Yet even in the face of adversity, Nia refused to let go of the inherent kindness that defined her spirit. The memory of her mother's words, whispered in the quiet hours before sleep, fueled Nia's unwavering determination. "Promise me, Nia," her mother had said, her voice thick with emotion, "that you will always look after Maya. Promise me you will guide her, protect her, and never let her face the world alone." Nia, her young heart heavy with the weight of her mother's words, had made a solemn vow, a promise etched not in ink and paper but in the depths of her soul. And so Nia had shouldered the mantle of responsibility with a grace that belied her young age. She became both sister and mother to Maya, her days a whirlwind of school runs, part-time jobs, and stolen moments of shared laughter and whispered secrets. The dreams of art school and a charming cafe may have been deferred, but the love she held for her sister burned brighter than ever, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Even within the confines of their modest apartment, Nia created a haven of warmth and love. She filled their home with the aroma of her mother's favourite dishes, recreated their father's silly bedtime stories, and ensured that Maya never doubted the depth of her sister's love. In the quiet moments as she watched Maya sleep, Nia found solace in the knowledge that she was keeping her promise, honouring the memory of their parents with each passing day. Life, however, had a knack for testing even the strongest of wills. The constant struggle to make ends meet, the ever-present fear of eviction notices and empty cupboards weighed heavily on Nia's shoulders. She worked tirelessly, juggling multiple jobs, her days a blur of exhaustion and determination. Yet, despite the long hours and meagre wages, a part of Nia yearned for something more. A chance to pursue her passions, to build a future where she and Maya could finally breathe freely. The sight of La Palazzo, its gleaming windows a testament to the opulence within, filled Nia with a mixture of envy and resentment. She couldn't help but wonder about the lives of the diners who frequented the restaurant, their carefree laughter a stark contrast to the quiet desperation that gnawed at her own spirit. What would it be like, she often wondered, to live a life free from the constant worry of survival? But these were dangerous thoughts, thoughts that threatened to unravel the fragile peace she had created for herself and Maya. Pushing aside her own desires, Nia donned her waitress uniform each day, her smile a mask that hid the weariness in her heart. She would continue to fight, to strive for a better future, for she had made a promise, and Nia Carter was not one to break her word. Ironically, it was within the gilded cage of La Palazzo that Nia found a semblance of peace. The act of serving, of bringing a moment of joy to others, provided a temporary reprieve from her own troubles. She treated each customer with respect and kindness. Her genuine warmth a stark contrast to the often haughty demeanour of her colleagues. There was a certain satisfaction in knowing that even in this world of privilege and indifference, she could make a difference, however small. A kind word to a lonely diner, a patient ear for an overwhelmed parent, a gentle hand guiding an elderly patron to their table. These small acts of compassion filled Nia with a sense of purpose, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit could still find ways to shine. Little did she know that her quiet acts of service, her unwavering empathy, would soon draw her into a situation that would test her very core, challenging everything she thought she knew about fairness, compassion, and the true meaning of success. For in the heart of La Palazzo, a storm was brewing, a storm that would forever alter the course of Nia Carter's life. La Palazzo. Even its name whispered of extravagance, a world away from Nia's modest apartment and lavender-scented memories. Here, under chandeliers, life moved in slow motion. Nia moved with practiced grace, present yet invisible. She watched their laughter, their ease, tiny glimpses of a life she once dared to dream, but dreams were folded away, replaced by duty and hope. Gregory ruled La Palazzo with an iron fist in a velvet glove. His smile was as sharp as the bread knife he used to portion slices. Even simple requests felt like threats, whispered with unsettling calm. Nia endured it all, resentful yet oddly pitying the man. Every shift was a test, but the job kept her family afloat. On her days off, Nia sought refuge in the familiar warmth of her tiny kitchen. The world outside, with its demands and disappointments, faded away as she lost herself in the alchemy of flour, water, and yeast. The rhythmic kneading of dough, the comforting aroma of baking bread were her therapy, her escape from the gilded cage of La Palazzo. Maya, her eyes bright with anticipation, would often perch on a stool, her chin resting on the counter, watching her sister work. "One day, Nia," she would say, her voice filled with an optimism that Nia envied, "we'll have our own bakery. You'll bake and I'll take orders. We'll call it Sister's Sweets." And Nia, her heart aching with a mixture of longing and fear, would smile and ruffle her sister's hair, pushing down the doubts that threatened to suffocate her dreams. Late at night, after Maya was asleep, Nia would pull out her worn sketchbook. It was filled with drawings of cakes, each one a miniature work of art. Delicate sugar flowers, intricate piping designs, whimsical characters crafted from fondant, they were her secret rebellion, a testament to the creativity that still flickered within her. But these dreams, like the delicate pastries she created, were fragile things, easily crushed by the weight of their reality. The rent was due, Maya needed new shoes, and the thought of saving enough money to open a bakery seemed as impossible as plucking a star from the night sky. One grueling evening, Asher walked into La Palazzo. Nia noticed him instantly, unruly curls, wide eyes, and a fragile energy that tugged at her. When the meltdown came, the room recoiled, but Nia moved. She knelt beside him, whispering calm into the chaos. In that moment, surrounded by wealth and judgment, she saw only a child in need. Their connection was quiet, profound, born of empathy, not words. It changed something in her, and it would change everything that followed. The restaurant became a sensory battlefield for Asher. Clinking silverware, swirling colours, voices, everything too loud, too much. He gasped, overwhelmed, his mother's voice distant and distorted. Even her touch felt unbearable. He couldn't speak, couldn't escape. Diners stared, some curious, others annoyed. Their eyes pierced him. He was a disruption, not a child. Alone in the chaos, he trembled, until someone knelt beside him. Nia knelt, her presence calm and steady. "You're safe," she whispered. "I'm here." She didn't ask questions, she simply hummed. A lullaby. Familiar, comforting. Asher didn't understand the words, but he felt the meaning. Slowly the world softened. The noise faded, and for the first time that night, he breathed. Gregory stormed in, fury in every step. Gregory. "Nia, what do you think you're doing? This is not a daycare. He's overwhelmed. I'm helping him. Please go back to whatever matters more than a child's well-being." Her voice shook, but her resolve didn't. The room froze. Gregory hissed a threat, but Nia didn't flinch. She had likely lost her job, but gained something greater: her voice, her dignity, her purpose. The night air was heavy, her termination notice heavier. She had stood up for what was right and paid the price. The city blurred around her, but her decision stood clear. Some things were worth losing everything for. Sleep evaded her. Fear clawed at her, but so did pride. She had protected a child, and she would protect her sister too. Maya saw through the lies. "It's okay to be scared," she whispered. "We'll figure it out. We always do." In that embrace, Nia found hope. Game night returned, laughter echoing, worries fading. In Maya's strength, Nia found her own. The future was uncertain, but love lit the path forward. The insistent rapping on the door startled Nia, yanking her back to reality from the comforting aroma of rising bread dough. The scent of cinnamon and yeast, usually a source of solace, couldn't quite mask the underlying tension that had permeated their small apartment since her dismissal from La Palazzo. Each unexpected noise, every creak of the old building, sent a jolt of anxiety through her. Wiping her flour-dusted hands on her apron, she cautiously approached the door, her mind racing. Who could it be at this hour? A bill collector? The landlord with another eviction notice? Her heart pounded in her chest, a drumbeat of fear against her ribs as she peered through the peephole. The distorted image that greeted her took her completely by surprise. Standing on her doorstep, a look of genuine concern etched on his handsome features, was Preston Langford, Asher's father. His presence, so out of place in their humble abode, sent a wave of confusion mixed with a flicker of unease through Nia. What could he possibly want? Had Gregory sent him? Was this some cruel twist of fate, another blow designed to humiliate her further? "Mr. Langford," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I wasn't expecting you. Is everything all right?" Her words tumbled out in a rush, betraying her anxiety. Preston, sensing her unease, offered a reassuring smile as he stepped inside, his gaze taking in the modest surroundings with a mixture of empathy and respect. "Please call me Preston," he said warmly. "I had to come thank you, Nia, for what you did for my son. You saw him when no one else did. You treated him with dignity. That meant everything to us." His gratitude warmed her heart, proof that her kindness had truly mattered. Preston saw something in Nia, compassion, strength, and a quiet determination. He offered her a chance, and she built Nia's haven, not just a restaurant, but a sanctuary of kindness. A place where families like Asher's felt seen, where joy and empathy filled the air. Because kindness, like a single ember, can light the way forward.